the hidden shame cycle that kills motivation, the hidden loop that steals your drive. You miss one task, and suddenly your motivation vanishes. Shame floods your chest, your brain fogs, and you scroll to numb it. Then you call it discipline and try to force your way back, which only stacks more shame when you stall again. That loop keeps you stuck, not because you're lazy, but because your inner narrative flips your brain into threat mode. In this video, I'll map the exact shame right arrow procrastination loop and show you the tiny actions that break it. There's a one-sentence reframe and a 60-second reset that interrupt shame. Let me show you how the loop actually works so we can kill it at the source. Map the shame cycle, the 4-beat loop. Here's the loop you keep tripping over. It's 4 beats. First, a trigger, then a spiral, then the mechanics that lock your attention. Finally, the long-term cost that quietly rewires your identity. Once you can see each beat, you can interrupt any one of them and the whole loop collapses. Beat 1, the trigger. It's usually small. You snooze an alarm, you miss a message, you push a meeting prep to later. The moment you notice the miss, your inner critic fires. Seriously, you always do this. That thought isn't harmless commentary. It's a threat signal. Your body reacts, heart rate ticks up, chest tightens, your attention narrows. That's your stress response kicking in. When threat rises, the brain defaults to survival priorities. Avoid pain, conserve energy, seek relief. It's not moral failure. It's a protective reflex, consistent with threat system activation in effective neuroscience. Amygdala up, prefrontal control down. Beat 2, the spiral. Under threat, avoidance looks like relief. You switch tabs, you tidy your desk, you make coffee. For a second, your body relaxes. That tiny exhale feels better than facing the task, so your brain quietly learns, oh, avoiding reduces discomfort. That's the reward that most people miss. It's not the task that's winning. It's the relief from not doing the task. The result? The backlog grows, the guilt grows with it, and your critic gets louder. The spiral doubles back on itself. Avoidance, right arrow relief, right arrow more backlog, right arrow more shame. Each lap makes the next avoidance easier to justify. Beat 3, the mechanics. Shame hijacks attention. Instead of looking at the next action, your focus gets glued to yourself. What's wrong with me? That self-focus is sticky. The more you stare at the story, the less cognitive bandwidth you have for the work. Threat brain also narrows options. You stop seeing gradients, only finish perfectly, or don't start. That all-or-nothing framing adds weight to the start, which makes avoidance even more rewarding in the short term. This is why trying to just be disciplined backfires. You're pushing a heavier and heavier boulder up the same hill, while your nervous system is slamming the brakes. Beat 4, the cost. You lose time, obviously, but the deeper cost is identity erosion. Every avoided start becomes a vote for a story. I'm behind. If that story repeats long enough, you begin to expect failure before you try. That's learned helplessness, not because you're incapable, but because your recent evidence bank is full of missed starts and harsh self-talk. Over time, your standards quietly slide, not because your goals change, but because your brain is trying to protect you from repeated threat by lowering the stakes. Now, here's the thing most people miss, and it's the lever we'll use. The micro-relief you feel right after avoiding, that's a reward. Your brain loves predicted relief. If opening Instagram gives you a reliable 10-second sigh of not it, you'll reach for it automatically next time. The loop isn't driven by laziness. It's driven by relief learning, classic negative reinforcement. Removal of discomfort strengthens avoidance. So we don't fight relief, we reroute it. We make the first tiny action give you a faster, cleaner relief than avoidance does. When that happens, the loop flips. Start right arrow relief, right arrow tiny progress, right arrow lighter identity. Let's make this practical with a quick diagnostic from the last 48 hours. Think of one moment you avoided something. Name the trigger, the exact event that started the slide. Maybe it was an email with a vague request. Now the thought, the first sentence that hit your mind. Was it, this is going to be a mess? Next, the feeling, tight chest, stomach drop, restless energy. Then the action, tab switch, snack, new task that wasn't urgent. 4 labels, trigger, thought, feeling, action. Write them down. That's your personal loop map. Actually, let me back up and explain why naming those parts matters. Labeling reduces threat. When you give your brain a simple model, oh, that's my trigger, that's my critic sentence, the unknown shrinks. Unknowns are threatening, knowns are manageable. This clicked for me when I realized my worst spirals started with one phrase, you're already behind. I wasn't lazy, I was reacting to a sentence. When I changed that one line, the weight of the start dropped. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to bulldoze the loop with more pressure. They declare a marathon catch-up session, stack caffeine, and promise they won't leave the desk till it's done. It feels strong for 5 minutes and then collapses. Why? Because threat burns energy fast. Willpower is like a battery. Threat drains it. Every minute you maintain a fight with yourself, you spend attention you could have used on the next small action. That's why your disciplined days feel heroic and end with nothing left for tomorrow. Once you see the loop, you can interrupt it at any beat. You can soften the trigger by changing the first sentence you say to yourself. You can break the spiral by swapping avoidance relief for start relief. You can loosen the mechanics by shifting your focus from me to the next move, which widens options. And you can repair identity by banking small wins that prove I start instead of I'm behind. Let me give you a tiny example from a student last week. Her trigger was Slack pings. Thought, everyone needs me and I'm failing all of them. Feeling, jaw tight, shallow breath. Action, answer easy messages, avoid the one that mattered. We changed one thing, the first sentence. She wrote on a sticky, I'm not behind, I'm in a reset. Then she opened the hard message and set a 60-second timer to draft the first line of a reply. Relief hit not from avoidance, but from motion. That 1 minute broke the spiral all afternoon. If you remember nothing else, remember this. The loop is powered by the fastest relief available. Make starting deliver faster relief than avoiding, and your motivation stops dying after one miss. That's the lever. We'll use a 1-sentence reframe and a 60-second reset to do it. Once you nail that, everything else clicks. Once you can see it, you can interrupt it. Here's the lever. Why willpower fails here. Now that you can see the loop, here, why just use willpower falls apart inside it. Shame plus willpower creates an internal fight. You push, your nervous system pushes back. That tug-of-war burns through attention and energy before you've taken a meaningful action. So you feel exhausted, not accomplished, which confirms the critic's story and makes the next start even heavier. That's the trap. Self-criticism reliably elevates stress markers and reduces persistence. Self-compassion improves goal re-engagement. The reason this backfires is simple. Threat eats resources first. When you're under pressure, your brain prioritizes scanning for danger, not focused work. You spend glucose and attention managing the uncomfortable feelings and the self-judgment, leaving very little for the task. Think about those cram and punish days. You white-knuckle for 20 minutes, your chest is tight, and then suddenly you're reorganizing folders or watching a productivity video. That's not a character flaw. It's a brain trying to reduce threat quickly. So what works instead? You reduce threat, you shrink the task, and you create safe starts. Reduce threat means you take the sting out of the first moment. Shrink the task means you convert finish perfectly into begin imperfectly. Create safe starts means you make the first 60 seconds so low risk your body says yes before the critic shows up. That combination flips the loop from avoidance relief to motion relief. Here's the mental shift that makes everything easier. Act like a coach, not a critic. The critic uses global, harsh language that spikes threat and narrows your options. The coach uses specific, kind, actionable language that drops threat and tells you what to do next. Critics say, you always blow it. Coaches say, right now, open the dock. The thing most people miss is that the tone you use with yourself is a performance variable. Change the tone, and the start gets lighter. Aligned with research showing self-compassion, increases intrinsic motivation and reduces avoidance. The shortcut that saves the day is swapping finish for start. Your brain treats finish the report as massive and ambiguous, especially when shame is whispering. But start the report for 60 seconds is tiny and concrete. Outcomes live far away, processes live here. When you commit to the process, start now, for a minute, you earn a quick, honest win. That's the win your threat brain will actually believe behavioral activation works because action precedes motivation. Let me show you exactly how this plays out with a common mistake. You realize you're behind and decide to fix your entire backlog in one heroic session. You batch every task into a mega list, promise you'll grind until it's done, and set a 6-hour block. 5 minutes in, the weight of finishing everything crushes your attention. You drift, feel ashamed, and call it a personal failure. What actually happened? You turned the start into a threat by tying it to a giant outcome. The solution is boring and powerful, separate starting from finishing. Today, you stockpile starts. Once you nail that, everything else clicks because starts create momentum. Motion lowers shame. A single minute of progress gives your nervous system a different signal. We're not trapped. That drops the sense of danger, which frees up attention, which makes the next minute easier. It's a compounding loop, just like the shame loop, but pointed in your favor. Now, before we continue, you need to understand the role of clarity. Vague tasks amplify threat. Work on project is a fog bank. Your brain can't see the edges, so it stalls. Open the project doc and write one ugly sentence has clear edges. Clarity tells your body exactly what to do with that first minute. I had a client who kept delaying a grant application. We changed finish the grant to open form, fill name, and one sentence in box 1. The entire emotional landscape changed instantly because the start lost its teeth, implementation intentions. If X, then Y reduces hesitation. Another pattern that separates beginners from pros: environment does more than motivation. If your start is buried behind 5 clicks, 3 logins, and 2 decisions, you've created a friction wall that willpower has to climb every time. Lower the wall and you'll need less willpower. When people say, "I just need to try harder," they're usually ignoring the friction they built unconsciously. We'll fix that soon, but keep it in mind. Threat plus friction equals stall. The coach identity is your secret weapon here. Ask yourself, if I were coaching a friend I cared about, what would I say for the next 60 seconds? You wouldn't say, "You're pathetic, finish everything right now." You'd say, "Let's start small, open the file. I'll stay with you for a minute." That tone cues safety. Safety unlocks starts. Starts unlock progress. Here's a quick test you can run today. Take one task you've been avoiding. Write 2 versions of the start sentence. Version 1, finish the task. Notice the heaviness. Version 2, set a 60-second timer, open the file, write 1 messy line. Read it out loud. If your shoulders drop even a millimeter, you just felt the threat reduction. That feeling is your green light. Now here, where most people mess up again. They confuse ease with cheating. They think if the start is small, it doesn't count. But the reason tiny starts work is because your brain updates beliefs from lived evidence, not pep talks. A 60-second start is a real action that creates real momentum, and it's repeatable. High-friction heroics are not. Let me give you a micro-story. Last week, a student tried to power through a stalled presentation. 2 hours of discipline produced a blank slide and a pounding headache. We swapped the goal to start only. She set a 1-minute timer, typed a terrible title, and stopped. That tiny win broke the spell. 10 minutes later, she chose to keep going, but the key is she didn't need to. The relief came from motion, not from escape. The reason this works is straightforward. Your nervous system learns from the fastest relief. When the fastest relief is avoidance, you'll avoid. When the fastest relief becomes a tiny start, you'll start. Willpower tries to outmuscle biology. Smart strategy reshapes where relief lives so biology helps you. So stop trying to fix the whole backlog in one session. Reduce threat, shrink the task, create safe starts, and talk like a coach. Swap finish for start. Let me show you the exact 1-minute protocol that makes this automatic next. The 60-second reset, tiny action protocol. This is the tiny action that breaks the loop in real time. Think of it as a 1-minute door you can always open, no matter how messy the room looks behind it. We're not fixing your whole day. We're flipping your brain from threat to approach in 60 seconds. That's all. Here's what it is: a 1-minute, low-friction start that reopens approach motivation. Not a sprint, not a secret productivity hack, a reset. It tells your nervous system, we're safe, we're moving, and this counts. When your body believes that, shame loosens, attention frees up, and the next choice gets lighter. The protocol is 5 steps. Breathe 4-6. Name the task. Do a 60-second micro-move. Stop. Reassess. It looks simple because it has to be. Under threat, complexity kills momentum. We'll keep each piece laughably doable so your brain says yes before your critic wakes up. Tiny, specific actions reduce cognitive load and boost compliance. Step 1, breathe 4-6. Inhale through your nose for 4, exhale through your mouth for 6. 1 or 2 rounds is enough. The longer exhale signals not danger to your body via the parasympathetic brake vagal tone. You're not trying to meditate, you're telling your nervous system, we're okay to start. If counting annoys you, just exhale a bit longer than you inhale. That's the only rule. Step 2, name the task. Say it out loud in a tiny, concrete way. not work on the report. Try, open the Q3 report doc. Language matters. Your brain needs a handle it can grab. If it helps, use the phrase, right now, I'm just going to, and finish the sentence with the smallest visible action. The specificity lowers friction and makes the first move obvious. Step 3, the 60-second micro-move. Set a 1-minute timer. Do the smallest slice that moves the task forward. Open the document. Type one ugly sentence. Write the subject line only. Put your shoes on and march in place. Your job is not to finish. Your job is to move for 1 minute. Motion, not magnitude, unlocks the system. Keep it so small you'd feel silly avoiding it. Step 4, stop. When the timer hits, stop even if you feel momentum. Stopping on time teaches your brain that starts are safe and controllable. If you blow past the stop every time, your body will start to resist the next start because it anticipates a trap. We're building trust with yourself. You said 60 seconds, you meant it. Step 5, reassess. Ask, do I want 1 more minute? Not should I, not I have to. Want? If yes, do another minute. If no, close it and count the reset as a win. Either choice is success because the goal is to shift state, not rack up minutes. The surprising part is how often 1 minute turns into 3 or 5, but that's gravy, not the goal. Why it works? Motion lowers shame. Shame says, you are the problem. Motion says, there's a problem and we're dealing with it. That tiny shift from identity to action frees attention. Also, completion sparks momentum. Finishing a 1-minute start is a real completion. Your brain loves completions, even small ones. The Zeigarnik effect flips when you close tiny loops. The relief used to live in avoidance. Now it lives in motion. Guardrails make this reliable. Keep it laughably small. If you hesitate, shrink it again. Set a timer, phones, watch, kitchen timer, anything. External time removes the mental math. Stop at 60 if needed. This isn't a trick to force yourself into a long session. It's a reset to prove you can start on command without punishment. Let's make it concrete. Example tasks that count. Open the doc, type 1 ugly sentence, paste 3 bullet points you already wrote, rename the file accurately, draft 1 email subject, write 1 line of the reply, skim the first heading only, set shoes by the door, do 10 slow squats, fill the water bottle, lay out the yoga mat. If it moves the task even 1 inch, it counts. What about creative work? Start a new canvas and drop 1 color block. Record a single messy voice memo idea. For studying, open the chapter and highlight the first definition only. For finances, open the banking app and write down your balance. None of these finishes the job, they start it. Starting flips the loop. Now, mistakes to avoid. Don't jump to finish. The second you quietly switch the rule to "I'll just finish while I'm here," you tell your brain that starts are dangerous because they hide a trap. Keep the promise. 60 seconds means 60 seconds. Next, don't judge speed. You'll be tempted to rate how productive the minute felt. Don't. The metric is starts, not speed. Finally, don't stack tasks too soon. Finish your minute, then decide. No sneaky multitasking inside the reset. Here's a quick micro story. A client had an email backlog that felt impossible. We picked 1 target, the oldest unread, reset time, breathe. Right now, I'm just going to write the subject line. Timer on. She wrote quick update on timeline. Stop, reassess. She wanted 1 more minute, wrote hi Alex, short update on the deliverable timing below, and stopped again. That was it for the morning, but she wasn't drowning anymore. The next day, she did 2 resets. By Friday, the backlog was 80% lighter without a single marathon session. Starts, not sprints. Another example, fitness avoidance. Shoes on, timer on. 60 seconds of marching in place or wall push-ups. Stop. Reassess. Most days, she chose 1 more minute. Some days, she didn't. Either way, she rebuilt the identity of someone who starts, which made scheduled workouts feel less sharp.